Steve, hi, welcome. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Please introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, thanks very much for having me, Damian. My name's Stephen Heath. I run the company Stephen Heath Music. It's me. I'm a singer and I'm a guitarist. I work exclusively in weddings with the odd party here and there. And the purpose of what I do is basically to take your wedding right from the ceremony right to the final dance and make it absolutely awesome. Anything that you can think of to do with music, live or pre-recorded, I can help you with that. And I've been doing it for around about 8 or 9 years now, and I absolutely love it.
That's good to hear. What actually, you mentioned that you love it, and I'm not surprised because we're in a fun industry. Weddings are great spaces. They're positive. There's love and joy and celebration around, and you get to make that happen with your music. What is it that you love most about what you do at a wedding?
Well, you know, there's two things really. There's two answers to that. The first is that I actually get an outlet for my creativity. You know, there's many routes that you could go down, going to theatre, or you know, you can go into the music industry. But I get this really amazing creative outlet. And second, and most importantly, I just absolutely love making people happy. And just seeing people up on the dance floor, people responding to my music, and I say my music, I mean I'm playing covers, other people's music, but I absolutely love the atmosphere at weddings. Everybody's usually on their best behaviour, and it's just such a positive environment all the time. And you know, there's times when people are up on the dance floor and they're cheering, they're dancing. Absolutely love it.
So you mentioned those fantastic dance floors full of people dancing. You must have seen quite a few things in your time. Any favourite moments that you are allowed to tell me about?
Oh, okay. I'll tell you one time I was at a wedding and I was like rocking the dance floor, and suddenly this guy in tracksuit bottoms and a t-shirt just sort of walked up to the side, and he was bopping his head along, and I thought, who's this guy? Doesn't look like he's meant to be at the wedding. And he comes up to me in the middle of the set, just as I finished this song, and he went, "It's a taxi for Jeff, mate." I'm the taxi driver. And I said, "Oh, okay, right." So through the microphone, bit of banter. I said, "Yeah, Jeff apparently is meant to be going because his taxi driver's just come up to me," and and the guy proceeded to stand at the side of the stage in his Adidas tracksuit bottoms and his white t-shirt. He's bopping his head along to the next song, and then he walks up to me in the middle of the song and comes into my ear and goes, "Are you going to play something good now, mate?"
Just drive the taxi, my friend.
And then it turned out that it was actually a hotel that could accommodate 2 weddings, and he was at the wrong wedding. So Jeff, who was meant to be getting the taxi, was actually at the other wedding. Hilarious.
Man, also just offering you sort of musical critique is unnecessary at that point. Yeah, play some. You got any quotes? That classic question.
Yeah.
So I would imagine you didn't dream of being in the wedding industry. How did you come to be where you are today?
Well, I haven't seen the other 8 or 9 episodes that you've done of this, but I'm gonna wager that a high percentage of the people that you ask that question to say, "I kind of just stumbled into it, really."
Yeah, that seems to be how it goes.
I kind of just stumbled into it. What happened was, I used to be a teacher, so I was a drama and performing arts teacher, and I was good friends with the deputy head teacher, and he said, "Will you sing at my daughter's wedding?" And it was the 1st of October 2011. Remember the date? And I said, yeah, I can do that. And so I got everything together and I kind of sang at the wedding. And I had people coming up to me saying to me, "Do you do this professionally?" And you know, I thought it was a CD playing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So after about 3 months of heckling from my wife, going, "You really ought to give this a go," I just randomly asked somebody who I knew was getting married. I said, "Can I sing at your wedding? Just, you know, a couple of quid, you know, give me some food." And they loved it. And I thought, well, I'll make a go of it. And over time, I was doing it. I was moonlighting, so I was being a teacher during the week, and then at weekends I was going and doing parties all around the north of England and weddings and things like that. And over time, it kind of just snowballed and snowballed to the point where the teaching just eventually got pushed out, and I became full time.
That's fantastic, and you're right. It's a common story. The wedding industry isn't everyone's dream job, but when you get to it and you realise what a happy place it is and how satisfying that can be, you get paid to do your hobby, your passion and you get to do that for a living. It's a fantastic place to be. Such a happy story, and I can imagine it took over from class balls of kids and writing reports. So
it did, and I think there was a conscious decision also, because I was playing bars and restaurants and things like that. But around about late 2016, 2017, when I went into the industry full time, I made a conscious decision to concentrate on weddings and become a wedding specialist. I'm only going to do music at weddings, and so week after week now, it's weddings and weddings, and has been now for 8 years. But as a niche, it's been hang on, let me just work this out here. It's just coming into 3 years, and the reason for that is because it makes you an expert. The more of them you do, you become the expert, and the more desirable your services become to people who don't know anything about weddings.
One thing though, obviously it's weekend work, as you mentioned. How have you managed to balance the work personal life thing over the years? Obviously, you've got kids and a wife whose fault it was that you ended up in the wedding. How do you manage that balance over the years? Because a lot of wedding suppliers, I think, especially when they're starting out, find that difficult.
It is extremely difficult. Over the years when I was a teacher, my children were very, very small and very much relied on my wife. And so she kind of took that area of things, and I just took on the work. Over the past couple of years, as my children have gotten bigger, they're 9, 7, and 4 now, and the demands change with children. So the demands of how you work have to change as well. So what I've done is I've become more specialised in my specialism. So previously, what I used to do is go out for entire days at weddings, and I do the ceremony, the drinks reception, provide some music during the meal, and then I do evening sets and I DJ as well. So I'd be like the one-man package. But as my children have gotten older, and to be honest with you, I've gotten older, there comes a kind of realization that you've got to cut down on the kind of things that you do and become even more specialist. So I cut out the DJing, and now I work with DJs and I bring them with me so that I can go a little bit earlier on the evening. I can get the dance floor up and rocking. Usually I'm done between 10, 10:30, and then I'll head on home from there. And one of the great advantages of work-life balance, being in the wedding industry, is you are actually around during the week. So you can do the school run with the children, you can be with them after school and what have you. One of the disadvantages is being away at weekends. And as they get older, we're kind of making the decision to say, we're going to make sure that I have one Saturday off per month or something like that. And you just adapt to the demands of your family, really. The virus has actually forced us all to stand still and stay in our houses. And my children and my wife have greatly appreciated having me around on Saturdays. And I've actually quite enjoyed being around on Saturdays, because one of the things that I did was I was going stir crazy during the week. So I went and I took a job with my friend who sells books on Amazon. He just sells thousands of books. So I work with him down his warehouse. But I'm here at the weekends now, and it kind of gives you a little bit of perspective and a little bit of time to stand back and say, what's really important to me here? I want to continue in weddings. I want to continue being that brilliant wedding supplier, but I think I want to adapt as my family are getting older as well.
The thing we haven't talked about yet, we haven't even mentioned it, because here we are in July, towards the end of lockdown, certainly as we're all sort of being slowly released into the wild again. But coronavirus has obviously had a major impact on everybody, both professionally and personally. And you mentioned it. I was going to ask you how lockdown has affected you and your business, as two separate things in a way, if you can separate them out.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm naturally, I know. And I wonder if any of my couples are watching this, because I'm going to be promoting this to my couples, but they'll be quite surprised to hear that I'm actually quite a pessimistic person. And I've always felt and feared that something bad was going to happen. And so I think, first of all, it's been a massive test of character, to kind of, be resilient, to be positive, to try and be positively minded and try and push through all the negativity. Because when we initially went into lockdown, we thought, oh well, 3 or 4 weeks we'll get the NHS kind of, and then it continued, and you're dealing with your clients and you're sort of saying, oh yeah, well, I'll put you at the end of the year instead. But as time went on, you thought it slowly, the realization came that this isn't going away. This is going to be with us for a very, very long time, which means restrictions are, and it's going to be a real test of character. How do I work with my couples? How do I continue to kind of keep myself productive during this? So personally, I found it a real challenge because, as I say, I am naturally a pessimist, but I'm trying to be more positive. It's taught me to be a little bit more positive and to get through, because at the darkest points, I really thought, this is it. I mean, I'm done. I can't see a way out of this. But then, drips of kind of positivity have coming in that, the government suddenly announces that performing arts can go ahead outdoors from the 11th of July, and that socially distanced weddings of 30 people can go ahead from the beginning of August. So I've tried personally to learn to be a little bit more positive. In terms of the impact on my business, it's been absolutely enormous. I do somewhere between 60 and 70 weddings a year. And initially, to see those weddings just dropping out of the diary, while everybody was incredibly apologetic about it and you tried to accommodate as many people as possible, it's incredibly demoralizing. But also the government has significantly stepped in. And I know this isn't true for every wedding supplier. There have been numerous wedding suppliers that have got nothing because they've fallen through some of the gaps. But we've been very fortunate to have a lot of support from the government. So we've been able to kind of weather this storm as a business. Over the period of lockdown, I've kind of taken a little bit of a step back from the business and just concentrated on my family a little bit more, tried to get a job and what have you, and just do something a little bit different, because I don't know about you, but sometimes doing 70 weddings a year, you can get a little bit,
Sure.
ready to get back into a new season. And I was feeling a little bit, here we go again. So it's been a good opportunity to kind of step back and actually take a breather.
Yeah, and refresh that creativity that you mentioned earlier. I sympathize. As a wedding photographer for the last 16, 17 years, shooting weddings pretty much every weekend, I've actually had to control that to remain fresh. So I don't do as many as I used to.
Yeah.
Probably only 25 to 30 these days, because otherwise you just don't want to pitch up to a wedding going, you need to be up. You need to be
absolutely.
Lots of us are trying to take some of the learnings we've had or the realizations we've had from the situation with COVID and coronavirus, and continue those positive ones into the future. Would that be the case for you?
Absolutely. And I think the big thing that comes out of that for us is, when I went full time with this in January 2017, we kind of went into a big summer and then we had a lull in the winter. So then, we kind of, you had to kind of work it out. And then, we're going into another season in March. It's taken 3 years to realize that actually winters are always very, very hard for wedding suppliers because we just don't have as much work. I'm not a person who picks up a great deal of Christmas work, for example. And so stepping away and working down my friend's bookstore, which I do, and I'm going there tomorrow. What we've actually decided is that we're gonna just step away from winter, and I'm just gonna take a job down there every winter and work with him, because it means it just means that. And I'll still do weddings in November, December, January if they come along, but I won't be actively seeking them, because what it will mean then is from March to October, you're doing a big lot of weddings, and then you can kind of wind it down and then come back fresh the following March. It's what you were saying about freshness. If I'm constantly playing the guitar, which is what I've tried to do this winter, it kind of loses its spark a little bit. And I was concerned that I was losing my spark. So now, once this is all over, we can actually go into the new year and with a new plan, and just be a little bit more fresh.
And other than that freshness, that renewed enthusiasm, have you been doing anything else to ensure that your business is ready for hopefully what will be a busy 2021 and beyond, when we finally get back to weddings?
Well, actually, I took the opposite approach. What I did a little while ago was I realized that this was going to be, we were still going to be getting movements and cancellations through all of 2020. So a little while I've been in touch with my couples through a private Facebook group, through emails and things, and I've been issuing my interpretation of the guidelines to them and what the government might do. I took the opposite approach. What I did was I stopped advertising for 2021, and I said to anybody, I set myself up in my work life and with the support that we got from the government, and I said anyone who wants to move their wedding from 2020 can do so without any issues. And I have not expected to go into any further in 2020 with any weddings, although a number of bookings have come in the last couple of days for micro weddings, which is quite interesting. So no, I stopped advertising for 2021 so that I could accommodate my couples. And I said to them, 2021 is yours now. So in January, I went into the year with about 10 weddings. And then between January and March through wedding fairs, that went up to about 25. And then once coronavirus hit, I got a couple more bookings in for 2021. But as people were moving their weddings, I just decided, right, I'm stopping advertising and I'm going to be just there for them so that I can be totally committed to their wedding. So my 2021 diary is about 75% my 2020 diary now.
Yeah, and I think you're not alone there. I think lots of people, so for my couples, exactly the same. I moved them straight across. I had the capacity to do that because, as I say, I don't do as many weddings these days. But
yeah.
For people, let's say venues or others who do hundreds of weddings a year, that capacity issue is a major factor. And
it's huge.
And a tricky one for them because that advertising also bleeds into 2022 as well and beyond. But it's good to hear that you just made a decision and when this is what I want to do. I want to look after my couples, I want to look after my clients for this who have had to postpone their wedding from this year to next year, give them my full attention, and then see what transpires next year. It makes sense. Obviously, you have been involved with the Wedding Industry Awards before, and I wanted to ask you what first attracted you to being involved, to entering the awards in the first place.
Oh well, I just wanted to be noticed.
Show off musician. No,
I mean, as a performer, I just want to be looked at. No, I'd considered it in the past, but I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'd entered a couple of awards in the past, but completely honestly, I just thought that the Wedding Industry Awards were just going to be a little bit too highbrow for somebody like me. And one year I took the plunge. I just thought, oh, this looks just too prestigious. There's no way I can touch anything like this. And one year I took the plunge, and you'd set up all of the things and everything, and we had the awards ceremony at the Mansion in Leeds in November of 2017, which was my first awards ceremony, and I won the regional in that, and then the following January was nationally highly commended. But before, I remember sitting with my wife. And at the Mansion in Leeds at the very first awards ceremony that we were at. And I said to her before the ceremony started, I said, you know what? I really feel that if I don't win this, that it's really fair. So I'm going to bang that drum that I said that. And my wife will attest to the fact that I said that. I said, this is the fairest awards I've ever seen. It looks incredibly objective. There's always going to be, complaints and difficulties from people and things. But as far as awards go, I felt that this was extremely fair, and I felt it was extremely high end. And, like I said, very prestigious as well, because you kind of catch it on Facebook and Twitter and you see who's won. And I'd seen who'd won the, in 2015 or 16 was a guy called Joe Bushell. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
Joe Bushell. He's in Australia now, and I checked him out and I thought, wow, he must be absolutely amazing to win a national award. And so I decided to go for it and see how far I could get with it.
And it seems to have worked out. Obviously you went on, you won the national award as well. And I'm interested to know how both those wins, or the regional and the national winners, has affected your business afterwards.
I can't even tell you what it's actually done. The prestige that comes along with it, and the comments that people make. They say, "Wow, you've won a national award. You are nationally recognised as the best solo artist in the industry." It just it gives so much confidence to people when they're booking, because, you know, we're a little bit of a renegade industry, right? We're not regulated. We can do pretty much whatever we want. There's no particular body or union that looks after us. And that is a very scary thing for couples when they come to booking suppliers, because they've got to look at websites and then they've got to chat with you on the phone. And there's got to be a level of trust there. And what something like the Wedding Industry Awards does when you win it is it offers like a badge of trust for those couples, and it gives them confidence to book, knowing that their peers have judged you to be the best in your category. And you don't even need to win it to have that kind of prestige as well. Just being in it is enough for networking, and, you know, saying you were nominated and things like that. They're just very, very good for business.
Well, good. I'm so glad that it's had such a positive effect on you, and that you've found the things that you've impressed you are the things that exactly we were trying to do, to make it trustworthy, to make it credible, because there was nothing like that in our industry when we set it up, and I believe there still isn't. And it's really important to us that we recognize talent like you, but also help couples gain that trust through the credible process of the awards to book with confidence. That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
And, it's just great to hear. And I can see the trophy, the national trophy behind you there.
Oh,
this whole thing. It
was just lying around.
Oh. I was going to ask you about challenges in business, but actually what I wanted to ask you about is the transition you made from being a teacher, having a full-time job, to becoming a full-time wedding supplier, which for many doesn't feel like a job. And there's lots of people out there who are doing what you used to do. They have a proper job and they're moonlighting in the wedding industry, dreaming of the day, I think, that they can go full-time. And I wondered, what were the factors that helped you make that decision, or what was it that made you take that leap of faith? What did you need to have in place in order to feel comfortable doing that, or was it just just step out over the precipice?
Well, I knew that things were evolving, and I knew that they were evolving fast. And I went to the head teacher in the summer of 2016, and I said to him, I'm going to do one more year with you at the school, and then I'm going to move out. And we were very, this is really scary, because being self-employed is really scary. And all of the anxieties that you have, for those people who are watching this, if you're watching this who do have a daytime job and are thinking of making the leap, all of those anxieties are very, very real, and they're very understandable, because I had them as well. So I went to the head teacher, summer 2016, and I said to him, I'm going to do one more year, and then I'm moving on to the wedding industry. So we were kind of like easing ourselves out of it. But as time went on, by November 2016, I just wasn't, my health actually took me away. I was doing far too much. My wife had a third baby, and it kind of tipped us over the edge, and my health pushed me out by just getting poorly for a couple of months. And the school said to me, look, we're going to release you now. You really need to do this as a full-time job. They were so supportive. When I was doing it part-time, and they used to book me. Some of the teachers used to book me to come and do their parties and stuff, and they just said, you're so good at this, you need to go ahead and you need to do it. So I was kind of forced out by my own health. I wish I'd have taken a smoother transition out of it, but I think I learned in that if your instincts are telling you to go for it, it's scary, but you probably should go for it. And if coronavirus has taught us nothing else, everything's workable. You can work around things. I've got a little part-time job. If it isn't working out for you when you first step out, just get a little part-time job or something like that in the meantime. I would say to anybody, if you think you're getting enough work, if you think this can grow, and if you are turning away work for the following year because your other job is getting in the way, you are definitely ready to step out, and you should definitely take that leap. And it will be scary, but you will make it.
That's good advice. It is a scary prospect, leaping into the unknown, even though you feel like it's the right thing to do. And pretty much every wedding supplier has done that. They didn't dream of being in the wedding industry, didn't study weddings. They just fell into it. And at some point, that means stopping one thing and starting it, or continuing another full time. And And one of the joys of the wedding industry is that for most people, you can moonlight. You can do your normal job and work weddings at the weekend until, as seems to have happened with you back then, you burn out and you physically can't do it anymore.
Yeah, and that was the issue. And I think, but what I found was come January, the wedding industry was like a coiled spring. It was ready for me, and I was ready for it. And the inquiries just came flooding in. And what you'll find is if you step out of the day job, you'll actually find yourself sat at a computer, updating your website and doing all of the things that you in your head want to do, but you don't have the time to do. And all of those things actually contribute to you being able to get more work.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, as you mentioned earlier, the glimmer of the government allowing, small weddings to happen, micro weddings, as you mentioned earlier. Are you looking forward to getting back to work in the crazy world of weddings?
I am, a little while ago, I did a very small garden party for somebody when outdoor performances were first allowed. And I started to set up my gear, and a guy came up to me with his drink, and he said, "All right, mate," he said, "what kind of music do you play?" "I've got one of those guitars." And I thought, I've missed you guys. I every single wedding, there's somebody who comes up to me and says, "Is that a Gibson Hummingbird? That's a really nice guy. I had one of those. Do you like Oasis?" You saw. I was like, "I've missed you."
I get the same thing. I get the same thing with the photography. People go, "Oh, what have you got? What camera do you use?" I go, "Canon."
Yeah.
And if they're Canon, they go, "Yeah, me too." Or Nikon, or I use Nikon, much better lenses.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
How many does that camera take? Okay, what the memory card is? You're right.
I didn't realise photographers had their equivalent.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. The main question I get is, have you got any good ones? And
have you got any good ones?
My stock response is, I only do good ones, so it's fine.
You don't just scroll through it. Oh, let's have a look. Let's have a quick look.
Have you got any good ones? I bloody hope so. Is the answer to that. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for your time this evening. It's been really great to chat to you and hear a slightly different take on how well-respected professional wedding suppliers have dealt with this coronavirus situation we're all in. I really hope, as you say, that we can get back to those events and those weddings soon. Playing in front of all those adoring fans, no doubt throwing their underwear at you. That's what I have in my head. But thank you so much for your time this evening, and wish you all the best in the future.
Thanks for having me.